After spending Easter turning the internet into a hostage video from the world's weirdest golf resort, Trump somehow found a way to make the whole thing worse. The opening act was already deranged enough. Threats about Iran, random deadlines, promises to blow up bridges and power plants, and the kind of tough guy language that sounds less like presidential strategy and more like a drunk casino manager yelling at a malfunctioning shrimp buffet. Then he delivered all of it with the uplifting springtime backdrop of the White House Easter egg roll, because apparently nothing says Happy Easter. Kids like hearing Grandpa Fascism workshop infrastructure war crimes next to a 6-foot rabbit. And here is the part that should make even the most devoted MAGA hat start to itch. This is no longer just liberals saying Trump is unstable. People from his own side, including former insiders, are now looking at this public unraveling and saying the 25th Amendment needs to be on the table. That is not some fringe campus drum circle. That is people who know the man, worked with the man, and have apparently reached the clinical conclusion that the emperor is not merely naked, he is also live posting his delusions while trying to run a war like it is a pay-per-view wrestling promo. Because look at the evidence. This is a president who cannot keep a position for more than one news cycle. One day, the Strait of Hormuz is not our problem. The next day, it is apocalypse o'clock, unless somebody does exactly what he wants by Tuesday at 8 p.m., like God apparently now schedules judgment through cable prime time. He keeps setting deadlines, moving deadlines, resetting deadlines, and then acting like this latest deadline is the real one. At this point, his foreign policy has the credibility of a man saying, "I'm leaving in 5 minutes," while still standing in the doorway 40 minutes later explaining NFTs to a lamp. And while all of that is happening, he is also spiraling through the rest of public life like a Roomba possessed by Richard Nixon. He is ranting about celebrities, boasting about who flatters him, posting fantasies of destruction, and acting as if the presidency is just a machine that converts personal insecurity into national emergencies. One of the more revealing moments is that he basically admits praise works on him every time. Of course it does. Trump is the first leader in modern history who could probably be talked into recognizing Atlantis if a dictator opened with, "Sir, your instincts are magnificent. That is not strength." That is a vanity trap with launch codes. And Republicans, those brave constitutional scholars who can detect tyranny only when a Democrat recycles too aggressively, are once again pretending none of this is happening. They watch a man threaten civilian infrastructure, contradict himself by the hour, fire loyalists when panic sets in, and publicly marinate in his own narcissism, and their response is always the same: a stern expression, a vague statement about optics, and then a full sprint back into the bunker of total moral cowardice. The party that once sold itself as the grown-ups in the room now looks like a wedding band forced to keep playing cheerful jazz while the ballroom catches fire. Which, to be fair, is probably the only ballroom Trump still thinks he can build legally. That is why this has become bigger than one rant, one speech, or one bizarre holiday appearance. This is the pattern. Every crisis bends around his ego. Every institution gets reduced to whether it praises him. Every serious matter becomes content for the ongoing reality show of Donald Trump. Senile Caesar. He does not project command, he projects appetite. Appetite for attention, appetite for revenge, appetite for flattery, appetite for destruction, dressed up as patriotism. And the truly grotesque part is that MAGA still calls this toughness, as though real leadership is just a man in expensive makeup threatening the world between grievance posts and applause breaks. So yes, what started as another chaotic Trump spectacle is turning into something much darker and much simpler. A public audition for removal, not because his critics are mean, not because comedians are mocking him, But because he keeps walking on stage and proving, with all the subtlety of a leaf blower in a library, that he is less a commander-in-chief than a collapsing ego in search of a national mirror, and every day he keeps talking, he makes the argument against himself better than any opponent ever could.